Welcome once again, everyone. Very happy to see you. And we also welcome everyone who is with us through the various streaming services. Many things happening, and it seems sometimes as if things are happening faster than we can keep up with it. And it's only going to increase. There's just going to be more and more things happening. We have already seen prophecy fulfilled, prophecy that Brother Howdiff and Sister White has made. We have seen things come to pass as we have had studies before. And as many other things start to happen and more prophecy is fulfilled, it will seem to us as if things are going too fast to even keep up, unless we have learned to keep up, unless we have learned to be men and women wondered at. So, to be among the very elect, it is not enough to have a righteous life, a perfectly righteous life, to be one of the elect. And that I'm phrasing it like that because I want to make a point. I want to get a point to in our minds. We know that to be one of the 144,000, the message teaches that you must have Jewish ancestry, so Israelite ancestry. So right there, my point is that to be one of the 144,000, being righteous is not enough. Now, it's enough to make it to heaven and to the kingdom. Being righteous is fully enough to be saved. But the 144,000 is a very special body. And they are not just ornaments. To say they are people wondered at, they're special people, they're the amazing people, and so on and so on. That's not just the thought there. The real thought is they are able to preach the gospel with one hand, to wield a pick and shovel with the other hand, if that should be necessary. They are able to organize the work. They have the ability to understand system and order and management. And they are the people who direct the 200 million horsemen. That's the work of the 144,000. The 144,000, therefore, are more than ministers. They're more than priests. What else are they? Kings. Kings in the sense that kings are administrators. They are, now we're not going to have multiple kings in the kingdom. David, antitypical David is going to be the visible head in the kingdom. But the 144,000, nevertheless, are described as kings because they are able to organize the work efficiently. They're able to work with other people and get things done. So I hope you understand that there's much for us to learn and unlearn too right now, if you want to be part of the great people. And we all should want to. The Lord tells us to strive to be part of them. If he says to strive, we should strive. with everything we have to be part of that great people. And that means that we need to be learning the things that we need to know now. We don't have time later to learn those things, to develop those abilities when things are happening so quickly. And so the message teaches, and the Spirit of Prophecy teaches, that the same character we have today is going to be the character we have in heaven. So what we develop now is what we have then. So there is a lot of things there to think about. And let me go ahead and get started here. But everything that we really do is geared toward helping us to be part of that great people, helping us to learn what we need to do, helping us to be able to do those things efficiently, at the right time, in the right way. And we have much to learn, and it is not to any human being that we have to give an account, but it is to the Lord. It would be easier, actually, in a way, if we just had to an account to a human being. But we have to account to the Lord, and He will miss nothing. He knows everything, and we can make excuses to other people, but we can't make excuses to the Lord if we are wise. Okay, so my opening thought is from Christ Object Lessons, page 71. Many will be in heaven who their neighbors supposed would never enter there. And I think Davidians are going to be among those who are very surprised. From what I see, people are always telling each other that they are going to be lost, they're going to fall in the slaughter, and so on. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of surprises in store for all of us. Man judges from appearance, but God judges the heart. The tares and the wheat are to grow together until the harvest, and the harvest is the end of probationary time. So, brethren, be careful about how we judge others. We're going to see some people in the kingdom that we didn't expect to see, and we're going to miss others that we did expect to see. So let's make sure that we ourselves are not judging from appearances, and that we are not presuming, and that we never tell other people what's going to happen to them. It does no good. They don't believe it anyway. And it's just putting things out there in our minds that for us to become surprised later. And so always we leave those kind of judgments to the Lord. But it is a good thing, a good piece of information to know that some people who other people think are going to be lost are not going to be lost. There is hope for people that we think are hopeless. That's good news. Let's have a word of prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank you that we have once again the chance to come before thee. We thank you for the many, many ways that you have watched over us and protected us in this past week. We thank you especially that you have given us this truth, that we have a part in this last great work. Wherever we are, whoever we are, we know that you have given us all the chance to participate, and we pray that you will help us to be faithful regardless of what other people say or do, that we will always do the right thing. We pray for those who are sick, those who are bereaved, those who are in financial difficulties, that you will watch over each of them and that you will help them in the way that you have shown us that you help these people through us, through inspiring us to search these things out and help these people. And we also pray your special blessing on all of them. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. What do I have to do, guys, to get my screen going? You notice my system. When in doubt, just keep punching buttons. Thank you. Okay. Before we start on the main point of study today, I want to talk about something very interesting and very important that has been not exactly hiding in the rod, but it's been hiding in the rod as far as we're concerned. Each one that enters the work of Christ under the conditions prescribed by him should be allowed all the tithe that is realized from his labors until he has sufficient to pay his expenses. And then the remainder should be kept by the conference. Thus the message would go by leaps and bounds. More laborers, more converts, more means. 1 Code 7, page 2. Now, Brother Haniff is applying this to the conference, but if it's true for them, then it's true, period. And there's many details in here that have to be prescribed, so it is something that has to be formalized, but it is a very important thought. And we are upgrading the importance of our Bible teacher training. The Davidic-Levitic Institute is a going concern here at Bashan, and we will continue to upgrade this program. Why? Because, of course, you can never have too many Bible teachers. The other reason is that every single member is expected to have Bible teacher credentials eventually. We should never be satisfied to be a beginner. We can't be a beginner because we are called to be ministers and priests and kings. And so Bashan is setting out that pathway of growth for people. You don't just become a priest overnight. It doesn't work like that. And the same, of course, with a minister. To become a minister, one has to be called. Who calls ministers? the Lord. The Lord calls them directly. And to be a Bible teacher is to be on that pathway, that ministerial pathway. Not to be a minister, but to have credentials as a Bible teacher. And it is on that pathway, and every single Davidian has to be on that pathway eventually, or we're not going to actually be a Davidian if we don't live up to it. A post for every Bible teacher. Now, this is from White House Recruiter, page 51. Now that the 11th hour call is sounding, the Lord is at the outset calling into his vineyard all ministerial and Bible work candidates who are standing idle, waiting to be hired. You can start out for the vineyard immediately after successfully completing an intensive 3-month seminar course of study on present truth. And that is what we want to see every Davidian working for. And it is, we have set the pathway for this, and we have people who are moving steadily onward. Quite a few people are actually quite interested and excited about taking the course. And so we're very happy to see that, and we want to see that greatly expanded. Why? You would need no money for tuition of room and board while taking this 3-month course at the Davidic Levitical Institute. The reason why is that, well, let's deal with this first. The current course is a partly a correspondence course and partly a practical course. So it takes the place of this 3-month course, even if it may take longer. And we do have field worker training courses also. The next one is starting soon after the seminar. So in each case, there is no tuition for those people who are taking it. And for the Bible teachers in training, the understanding is that they are to keep their work, their job, keep on doing the things that they're doing while they are fitting themselves to work in the Master's vineyard. And Answer Book 5, page 48, gives us the rest of the recommended system. Should part-time laborers who are having some success be entitled to any financial support from the association? Should the message give financial support to those who do part-time field work, it would thereby be binding itself to a precedent to support anyone and everyone who does anything, be it little or much. Such a precedent obviously could not be followed, and even if it could be, it would only damage the worker and those for whom he might labor. Consequently, the only right procedure is that all who engage in the work of this sealing message report their activities to the headquarters of the work, so that the office may credit them the results of their labor, and if there accrues from their efforts sufficient means to enable them to give full time to the teaching of the message, then they might be granted full-time status, entitling them to a necessary living expenses from the financial results of their labor. So Brother Hadif is saying here that anyone who reports their work to the office for credit, once they have a sufficient number of converts to be full-time, that the patient must give them full-time employment. Is that what it says? It's not what it says. They might be granted full-time. Why can't we say they must be granted? Because there are character issues, there's practical issues, there's many other little details that are not covered right here, but they're part of it. However, ideally, there would be no drawbacks. And so when there are no issues, we are going to move in this direction. Everyone who has sufficient people to, as this says right here, to enable them to give full time to the teaching of the message, will be, and who are qualified, who have a Bible teacher credential, they will be given that full-time status. And so this is a very important move from our current procedure. Many people have asked us about getting into the work full-time. It is something that we get a lot of requests about. And Brother Houteff has set out a very wise program. But it's not just his wisdom, it's inspiration. And it will go by leaps and bounds. The work will move forward in a powerful way. Now keep in mind that there are a lot of details here. The work must be recorded. There must be system and order at all levels. It is not, people are not authorized just to go to work like that without having the training and without having the authority from the association. So there's a number of different things here. But within those parameters, we are going to open up the gates, as it were. And I believe we're going to see a lot of things happening as it gets started. And of course, Sister Pat is, I'm sure, listening. It all depends on Sister Pat and as director of the Davidic Institute. She's got to run the whole program. Not to put any stress on her. Seriously, though, there will be help, and it will move forward. So it is one of the things that have been in the message, and I know that many of us know about these things. I know that is not brand new to you, but there is a time and place for everything. And as time moves on, we take out from our storehouse of tools and so on, yes, something that is necessary for this present time. And so we will see, as I said, as these things are implemented, you will see some remarkable things. And I am letting us know now that we may be thinking about these things, that we may be praying about these things, and that I hope that in the upcoming seminar, every single one who attends chooses to start working on their Bible teacher credentials. You are able to get much credit for each seminar that you attend. And if we go through the testing procedure and so on. And these things are real. We need to know the message. We need to know the message in a way that is that goes beyond just a member's, oh yes, I know about that, but can you teach it? See? And we have to be able to teach it. So I do encourage everyone who does not have this Bible teacher credentials to use the upcoming seminar as an opportunity to begin. By no selfish practice can the cause of Christ be served. The ends do not justify the means. We have Davidians who think that. I'm doing a big, important work for the Lord. So if I cut a corner here or run over a person there, it doesn't matter. But it does matter. And by no selfish practice can the cause of Christ be served. Christ Object Lessons, page 383, continuing from the opening thought, by no selfish practices can the cause of Christ be served. His cause is the cause of the oppressed and the poor. In the hearts of his professed followers, there is need of tender sympathy, the tender sympathy of Christ, a deeper love for those whom he has valued, as to give his own life for their salvation. So there is need of a deeper love on our part, and we at Bashan don't talk about love. We show love. If our words say, we love you, brother, and so on, but we don't live that, all we're doing is behaving as all other Christian churches are today. On Sunday, tomorrow, there will be, and even today in the Adventist church, there will be any number of pastors who get up there and say, I love you, brother, and I love every one of you, and so on. And he may think he does, but he doesn't from the point of view of the Lord. And we don't. And if you think you love your brother and sister, I'm glad, but we don't actually love as we should, and we don't show it. And I'm not speaking just of our special friends, and I certainly am not speaking about our family. We are talking about the oppressed and the poor. You know, the oppressed and the poor, they often look different. They often are not dressed in the way we would think they should be dressed. And they often not living their life in the way that we know that they should be living their life. And sometimes they maybe don't even smell right to us. Okay, be honest, brethren. You're going to have a lot of reasons not to love your oppressed and poor brother. And you think, well, they could take a bath and so on. Yes, they could. But think about this. Why would you be poor in the land of Goshen? You are poor because you have some problems. The first oppression is the oppression you have in your own mind, okay? And there are many people who have many problems, not necessarily frank mental illness, but they have problems, difficulties, and so on. But regardless, in fact, when the problem should actually be the attraction to us. When you see people with problems, you see oppressed people, you see people who actually need your love. The people who are handsome and well-dressed and have a good job and everything, those people don't need anything from us. They don't need a single thing. They think, and they are the hardest ones to reach. But when you see people that have a lot of problems, those people know they have problems, and they are open-minded compared to those who are at the top. And whether they care to hear or not, we need to love them. And when we do love them, in the same way that Christ loved all that he came in contact with, then we will be the people we are supposed to be. To bend every energy towards some apparently great work, which we are doing, while we neglect the needy or turn the stranger from his right, is not a service that will meet his approval. Now, as I was thinking about this earlier, it struck me, the stranger from his right. Did you know that was what the Lord taught them? The poor had certain rights. They had the right to go through your field afterwards and glean. And you were not to go through the field a second time yourself. You were to leave the fruits of there for them. And they had other rights, and the stranger had a right. The stranger had a right to not to be molested, to be treated just like anybody else. And he had a right to hospitality. And so it is a demonstration of what we think, how we feel about people, that how we treat them. Those people who are strange and in need, and we don't know them, and so on. If we knew them, they wouldn't be a stranger, would they? And there's always a danger when you take in strangers. Lot took in people that he thought were good, but he still had a danger from his own neighbor, the people of the residents of Sodom. And of course, sometimes we take in people who do us some kind of wickedness. So we do have to have spiritual perception and understanding and to be careful, but we still need to remember if a family member has no place to live, they're literally on the street, and they show up at our doorstep, will we turn them away? Are we partial? Can we do that with other people? We cannot turn anyone away. One of the things, I don't know if this is still true, but I've told you before that I was impressed with the brethren at Mountaindale is, of course, they put this in their constitution. They don't have the original constitution we have, but they tinker with it, every session. But they put in their constitution that anyone who shows up at their doorstep must be fed. Now, I would like to think that we didn't have to put that in our constitution here at Bashan. We had that in our heart. Oh, I hope so. But even though you can do whatever you want now, and no one is really going to judge you, there's no grading. This person achieved a 60% on Christ-like behavior, and this person had a 55. There's no grading. On the human level, there is a very exact record kept on the divine level. And something to remember, brethren. Don't let our own selfishness overwhelm our knowledge of what we should do, what is right, and what we are required to do. Now, we do not go out and gather in these people. But when the stranger alights at our doorstep, we have requirements that we must meet. and it's not our requirement, not our choice. The first duty of each Davidian is to be faithful in obeying the principles of the doctrine, in doing whatever work he is given to do, and by precept and example, leading others to do likewise. This is a wonderful summation of our duties. So we are to be faithful and obey. We have a law. We have our own law. We have a law, a set of commands that have been given to us. And we talked about that some time ago. So many people would like to go back to the Old Testament and follow the law of Moses when we have our own law today that we're not following. Very hard to understand that kind of thinking, but it's not just human thinking. It's also, of course, the enemy clouding people's reason. When you deal with these people, you can put 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, that's simple. And they will look at it, and because their mind is cloudy, they will say, no, it doesn't. You're wrong. And all kinds of stuff. Okay? So that is why you see so many people who are not obeying our own law, looking for something else to obey. The first duty of each Davidian is to be faithful in obeying the principles of the doctrine, in doing whatsoever work he is given to do. That's part of our duty, part of our responsibility as a Davidian. We do the work we are assigned to do. So many times people are assigned to do this and they do that, or they just sit around and do nothing. Okay, there's a lot of malfeasance in Davidia. A lot of people not doing the work that they were given to do. Now, by precept and example, leading others to do likewise. So, do we do that? Do we encourage everyone around us to a higher plane, or are we dragging other people down? Some people lift other people up, and some people have to be carried. We can't carry people on the narrow road, the path that Sister White saw. Not going to happen. No one is carried all the way home. But we do want to encourage each other, and everyone is encouraging. If everyone is encouraging, no one is discouraging, we're going to be a very positive group of people. It needs to be so. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. It is hard to remember what you look like, at least I can appreciate this, but we need to be doers. We know the message. It's time for us to start practicing. When we leave here, we should have a time to think about these things. And we should think, what can I do to help be a doer? How can I practice and obey the commands of the message? And if we can get 3 things that we are not doing now, or that we are weak in, and we put those 3 things in our mind and keep them in our mind for the coming week, or 2 or 3, however long it takes, and we overcome in those things, we will have accomplished something that we would not otherwise have accomplished. Brethren, if you don't try, if you don't deliberately, intentionally try point by point, you're not going to be able to do anything. We're not going to overcome. If I say, brethren, we must overcome in everything now, right now, it's like I'm taking a powerful laser and defocusing it and just spraying it all around, and it does no good at all. Okay? But you focus that into one or two or three things that you are going to take away and you are going to do something about, and you will if you try. Okay? Because the Lord will help you. You don't do it by yourself. Each must be faithful in his duties, as was Daniel, so that he bring no reproach against his religious profession. People do look at us. We have Davidian, so-called, and we don't say this, but they will tell the church, yes, I'm a Davidian. And they have a drug alcohol problem. And you say, surely that's not so, Brother Trevor. Surely it is so. And they do bring reproach on us. They should have never opened their mouth in the first place to claim to be a Davidian if they had such a basic problem as a drug or alcohol problem. They have no right to say the word Davidian. They had no right to bring reproach against our religious profession. And anything else, your home life is not right. Maybe your wife or your husband is not a Davidian. Maybe they're Adventists, and maybe things are not perfect. Guess what? They will tell their other friends in the church. You need to be perfect in all the things that you do, or you'll bring reproach against the message. Now we need to lead others to the message of the hour. This is the thing that we have been asked to do. This is the thing that we will be judged on. Are we effectively crying the message to the church today? Today, as never before, the Christian is to be not slothful in business, but fervent in spirit, in serving the Lord. Romans 12:11. Answer 5:41. And brethren, our business is twofold. It's our employment, but it's our business also, our God-given business, to cry this message to the church, to communicate. That is what cry means. It is a person who communicates publicly. And we need to be skilled and effective. And what I see is a lot of people who are not skilled, but they go through the motions. And one of the things that has happened, and I don't mean to discourage anyone, except those who are not doing the right thing, discourage them from doing the wrong thing. But one of the things that is a very perverse thing that is going on in the Davidian Adventist world, we actually turn people off of the message by our wrong behavior. You can get in people's faces and you can laugh at them, and you can tell them they don't know anything, and so on, and you can laugh at the minister's sermon, criticize it, and all kinds of things, and you can turn people off of the message, and we are very successful in doing that. Many people, you have 20% of the people who are out there working, bringing people in. You have 80% of the people who are being carried, basically, except when they actively pull against the wagon in the other way. And it's very true, brethren. We don't have a right to antagonize people. We don't have a right to make a disturbance in the church. But a lot of people think they do. They don't know that that's wrong. And they think that by antagonizing people, they're really showing that, oh, these people are dishonest and so on and so on. They're not worthy and so on. Well, what happened is You antagonize them before they had a chance to hear the message, really, and give it a honest appraisal. Be careful how you speak to people. Put yourself in that condition, that same situation. Let's say there's something important that someone wants to tell you that you don't believe. Most everybody today believes in the virus, the pandemic. I mostly am a believer still too. Mostly. I think Sister Janita's trying to convert me away from it. But what if someone were to come and just, they wanted to show you that your beliefs were wrong, and that, for instance, that more people died from the swine flu when we weren't even paying attention to it than have died from this. And we're all like totally wrapped up in this. So they come to you and they get in your face and they call you stupid when you don't answer, don't agree right away. And they maybe not literally call you stupid, but they're just very obnoxious and offensive. Are you really going to want to hear what they have to say? No. And it's the same thing with the way we behave in church, brethren. Same thing. The most convincing argument we can give to the world of Christ's mission is to be found in perfect unity. In proportion to our unity with Christ will be our power to save souls. Now, we have two things that are closely related. Unity, our own unity in Christ, and our unity with each other. I know that this unity with each other is very important. In the past, we have had people say, no, I can't go to town with that person, or I cannot work with this person, or don't send me on a trip with this person, or whatever. That's not unity, brethren. That's a disunity. That's an inability to get along, to work together. And I say that's in the past. Actually, I'm going to recommend to the field department that they try to mix and match people as much as possible for their own benefit. Okay? So if you will just kindly tell them who is the one person in all the world you don't want to be put with, they will take care of that. Okay? For your own betterment. Seriously, we are going to have this unity. As the 144,000, can you imagine one of those people saying, I can't work with him. I can't work with her. Can you imagine that? It wouldn't happen. It can't happen. And it can't happen anymore with us. We have to either come up to the line and make it and be able to do it. And we can, by the way, we can do anything the Lord asks us with his power. But if we won't, can't, whatever, it needs to be made plain. This is my closing thought. We must clean up our thoughts, our ways, our bodies, our clothes, our homes, inside and out. Cleanliness is godliness. God's government is law and order, peace and righteousness, joy and contentment. Thus we need to be polished by the Spirit of God, to be altogether Christians. If we are to shine, if we are ever to reflect the Word of God to those who sit in darkness. So we need to be able to do these things. We need to be able to work together in harmony. without self, without consideration of selfish things. It is God's government, the law of peace and righteousness and joy and contentment. If we are not experiencing these things in our life, then something is wrong. We are not part of God's government. We're not part of God's organization. We have to have these fruits of the Spirit. Now, it could be that there are those who don't have all these things perfectly. I again suggest that you focus on 1, 2, or 3 particular things and keep them in focus until you overcome. But if you were to say, nod your head, yes, yes is good, and go on your way, brethren, we will continue on the way that we have been going in the last 40, 50 years. And we don't have time to do that. If you have taken care of all the things the message teaches, then as your supreme duty and divine privilege, take what inspiration says. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, for the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Those who are now sitting down as dark objects, consuming light to themselves, should now embrace the opportunity and welcome the privilege. Today is your opportunity. Every single one of us need to be displaying the message, teaching the message by precept and example, by direct instruction. Every single way we need to be sharing it. If we are not, we are a dark object. We are consuming. And Brother Haddis says we cannot be a consumer only. We have to be a producer. To be just sitting there as a dark object is a person who is not going to make it to the kingdom. Only when we arise and shine and let our light shine forth will we be on the track to the kingdom. And one thing that means, brethren, that we have not necessarily thought through is every single member of the vanguard is liable for duty. Have you ever heard of an army that was not liable for mobilization and duty? Is that possible? If you are a member of the vanguard, you are liable for duty. Now, many people don't understand that, and they don't understand it because they don't want to understand it. It's been plain in the message all these years. We are going to come to a point where inspiration says, arise, shine, for their light is come, for the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Every single Davidian is going to come to that point where they are called to be a worker for the Lord. Now, many of us think that's going to be on the other side, and we can have our life now. We can have all the things that we want from the world. But that is not the way you become one of the men and women who are wondered at. To become a great anything, you have to do it. You could sit at home studying about being a great basketball player all you like. But if you don't go out and do these things, you don't actually develop the ability. If we are going to be great teachers, we have to teach. If we're going to be ministers and preachers, we have to preach. and teach. If we're going to be kings, we have to learn how to be managers. First, we have to manage ourselves and our time and our household. So all of those things apply right now. And it is also true that every single member of the vanguard should understand that they are liable for call-up. There's a way to avoid that, very easy way. Don't be a member of the vanguard, okay? And you're not going to be liable for call-up. But if you are a full member of the vanguard, you are liable to momentary call-up to active duty. And we'll have more about that as time goes on. But we are not a religion, we're not a church, we are a reform movement, and every single person is expected to have an active part in that movement. No one gets to sit out the struggle. So that's good news. I have, in the past, you may have heard this when I talk to people. I ask people, do you know that every member of the 144,000 is going to be an ordained minister? Have you thought about that? And I have watched people, and people will think about it. Sometimes they'll smile, they'll look surprised. But basically, it was a positive thought. Oh, yes, I would like to be a minister. Or I could survive, I guess, an ordained minister. But I didn't first couple that thought with the second part, which is active duty. Okay? It was a pleasing thought to people to, oh, a minister. You say that the 144,000 are ordained ministers. Well, yes, I would like that. And do you know the 144,000 are active duty soldiers of Christ? They are, every single one of them, ready and able to go at a moment's notice wherever the Lord sends them. But I have children, and I have a wife and a family, and I have a job, and I have a life, and you still ask me to go and just go, pick up and go? Yes. Many Adventist missionaries did that. It has happened before. It happened in apostolic times. Sister White did that. She set the example of leaving her children. We don't have to do that right this second. I'm not saying that we are to do that. I'm just saying that is in the message. And we leave whoever, father, mother, wife, children, to follow the Lord, to follow the Lamb, whithersoever he leadeth. We must be willing to leave behind anyone, anything who is not willing to be part of that. So, brethren, I hope that you see that we cannot have any selfish purposes of our own purposes, our own ideas, our desire in the past that we have a life just like everybody else. All those things have to come to an end. We either our association with the message has to come to an end, or our commitment to those things have to come to an end, because there are going to be times when people are called up. They are called to active service. Now, when you're called to active service, that's not to say you are called by Bashan to be a minister. I'm not saying that. The Lord himself calls people for that. But as far as the work is concerned, as far as being an active duty worker, yes, that is going to happen, and this is what the message teaches. I'm touching on another subject now, and I'm not going into it, but I'm giving people a heads up of things that we will be talking about not too long. So I hope that every one of us will not just take these things to heart, but that we will take these things to the Lord, and that we are willing and able to pay the price, because the price is probably higher than you thought it was. It's probably higher. If you have to get rid of your socks, I always thought about this as you're going up the road, the pathway. If you have to get rid of your socks, it's a very narrow road. Okay? Anyway, God bless you, brethren. And we're all, with his help, we'll all make it.